This conference will now be recorded.
Varsha, we'll wait for some time before somebody else join. We'll wait for another 5 minutes.
Okay, Kaushik.
Can we start? Okay. Now let's look at those two particular behaviors, the interface and encapsulation. As far as your Selenium is concerned, let me record this. Yeah, it is recording. So as far as your Selenium is concerned, I have to just show you alert. So I showed you the concept of your window change. And let me also check out what is remaining, because I have been writing that these are things which are remaining. Windows switch is that alert is there. Alert I have to show you. Exception, interface encapsulation exception I will try to finish up today. So what will remain is alert, NUnit framework, and framework development. Okay. Okay. I'm going to create a new project. Give the name as session 18. Running the C# file to, let's say, encapsulation. So that will be the name of the class also. So you can basically make this as a public class, and then I can basically make you understand what it is. Okay, so encapsulation and abstractions, these are basically hiding. So if you can understand it, there's a very thin line of difference in abstraction and encapsulation. Abstraction, we have seen that. So it is something like abstraction and encapsulation is hiding the implementation from the user, where the user can just use the functionality. Okay, but remember, the basic difference is that abstraction requires inheritance for optimum usage, I would say. Whether you are allowing abstraction at the class level, whether you allow abstraction at the method level, it is important to understand one particular thing, that one minute. So So, so abstraction requires inheritance for optimum usage. Now, what about encapsulation? Okay, so encapsulation does not require inheritance. It will not require inheritance, but it will do the same kind of behavior. Okay, it will not require inheritance, but it will do the same kind of behavior as the abstraction does. But remember that what is encapsulation? It's a process of hiding the data member, and manipulating and manipulating the value of the data member with methods. I will say with get and set property. Manipulating means out here means what? Manipulating means setting the value of data member. It's happening. Something is happening. Setting the value of data member and getting the value of data member after it is set. Okay. So hiding, what is the meaning of process of hiding the data? Now, first of all, what is a data member? You need to understand that. Nothing but your global variables. Process of hiding, what do you mean by that? Means defining access modifiers to hide the variable. So that's what it means. Now, what are the access specifiers or access modifiers that are present? Access modifier out here are public, private, internal, protected, and protected internal. So public can be used anywhere. Private can be used only in the class in which you are defining that particular data member or you are defining that particular method. Internal means in all the classes of the current namespace and in all the other assemblies, in all the other namespaces of the current assembly. So, what is the assembly? Uh, it's a collection of namespaces, of related namespaces. It's a collection of related namespaces. So you see that the identification or identifications of the assembly is defined out here in properties, assembly info. This is the identification of the assembly where you can define the title of the assembly, description, configuration, company where the assembly is created, product. You can see its product is session 8 actually. 18, which I've given as the project name, copyright. So you can define the assembly information out here. This is the identification of the assembly. So what is the assembly? It's a collection of related namespaces. So internal can be used in the same namespace in which it is defined. So this namespace is this. It can be used in other namespaces of the same assembly. That is what it means. Protected means it can be used between a parent-child relationship class. Okay. And protected internal means what? Can be used between parent and child class. And internal suggests that which belongs to the classes should belong to the same assembly. Because when you say same assembly, it means that the assembly is a collection of related namespaces. And protected means what? It might be not, the parent and the child might be not of the same assembly. That's what it means. Okay, so you define the access modifiers of the data members by this particular these keywords. You could also define the access modifiers for methods but with these keywords. But yes, class will only have two access modifiers, public and private. No, by default a class, yeah, internal also. By default a class is internal. So when I created this particular class, it was having no keywords. I created the keyword called public, but so by default the class is internal. Internal means can be used between namespaces which are related in the same assembly. So it can be used between this class can be used between names which are related with one another, and it is actually nothing but can be used in the same assembly. That's what it means. And by default, if you see this main method is also did not have any access modifiers. It is also by default internal. So internal may or may not have the keyword. Internal out here is equal to default in your Java. Okay, and Java does not have protected internal. It has only a protected default private public. So encapsulation, how will I ensure to have encapsulation? So I will basically hide the data member. How do I hide the data member? So you can hide by these access specifiers. The best way to hide is using a private global variable. And you have to manipulate it by using the get and send property. So if you go to edit, so what you need to do is you have to use, I think the file does have edit advanced comment upper lowercase outlining refactor. Okay, let's create it. I'll show you anyways. So the manipulation of the data member will be done by the get and set property. And this get and set property should be always a public property. That is how you have to understand it. And if you look at the other kind of, let's go to, it's a get and set property. If you want to understand it, the better will be your, you can see this get and set property, not Java point, this will be docs get and set syntax in Stackflow. This is how it is. So this is the get and set property you have to use like this. And by default, if you understand it, if you want to go to the theoretical analysis of it, there's something called as tools QA. I think so. It's a good website to understand. Okay. So the audio connection had got for some reason, I don't know why. Yeah, this is what we can say. Tutorial point is also out there. That's a better website. So you can see that properties are named members of classes. So what are properties? Get and set property you're using. They are named member of classes, structures, and interfaces. Member variables or methods in a class or structure are called fields. Member variables means global variables, or methods in a class are called fields. Properties are extension of fields and are accessed using the same syntax. They use accesses through which the values of the private fields can be read, written, and manipulated. That is why I'm using it. This is a good way to basically understand what is a property. It's a huge one, so I'll use a block comment so that we understand this. So properties are named members of classes. They are named members of classes, structures, structs, and interfaces. Member variables or methods. Member variables, global variables, methods in a class or structures are called as fields. So fields are nothing but global variables and methods. Properties are extension of fields and are accessed using the same syntax. They use accesses, that is your public, private, protected internal and internal, through which the values of the private fields. Private field means fields can be global variables or fields can be your methods, can be read, written or manipulated. So here in encapsulation, I will have to manipulate the data member. That is what encapsulation means. You have to manipulate the data member. This is nothing but your global variables. And that is why you have a data member which has to be manipulated. By default, in encapsulation, you make it private. You have to secure your data members. The best way to secure is make it private. So I can make a private global variable out here and then manipulate the private global variable to set it out and to get the value by using the property. Okay. Properties do not name the storage location. Do not name. Instead, they have accesses that read and write or compute their values. Okay. For example, if you look at this is a public property. Access modifier is public. Return type is string, code. Declare a code property of type string. Get will return the code, set will set the code. Okay, this is how you do it. And declare a name property of the type. Get and set values. Declare a age property. So this is how the property can be used. And the typical example is given out here: namespace, class student, private global variables. And you declare a property to set and get the value. In get property, you return the code, whatever you are setting, and in set property, you set the code where you put the value inside the code of this. So this is basically set up the value of the code. And then you can use the override, toString method of the object superclass. Return type is a string, and you can return this value. And then example is defined. You create an object of the student class, and you set up the values. You can see, and you get the values. Read key. So I will basically show you a behavior in which, for example, I will show you a particular, can show you a real-time scenario in which I will calculate the, let's see that you can do it or not. Calculate the tax cut from a salary of an employee by an employer. Then the tax will be 10% will be cut. If the salary is between 300,1 to 1 to 5 lakhs, and 20% will be cut. Salary is between 5 lakh 1 to 10 lakh. Okay, so first of all, I will not use the main method out here. So I will just define the global variables. So I will define the private global variable, private string name of the employee, private string address of the employee, private integer age of the employee, and private double net salary. Sorry, gross salary. Net salary, you have to calculate it. Net salary has to be calculated after the tax cut. So these are private. They can't be used outside of this class. So I have to manipulate this. So I need to have a get and set method for each one of them. Get and set property. for name global variable. So you have to create a public return type. Name is string, so I have to return type is string name. And like this, what you have defined it out here, you can see name, get and set. And I can just copy it from here because you have to do the same way as it is defined out here. You can see name, it is not a method, so no parentheses after that. Just name and then use the get and set method. Let me copy it from here. Name and then capital. This should be name actually, and this I can return as name. Return as name out. String encapsulation name get and set. Show potential will fix the name validation. Public string name. Okay. And the same for address you have to define. So this I would like to set it up. I'll just copy this. For age, no, this is not age, this is address. So whatever you get the address, how do you set the address out here with the value? Value is a keyword. It's a parameter string par value. So whatever value you set will come out here. So this will be address. And I'll also like to set up for the age. Whose return type will be your int. Because if you look at the return type of age is defined as name this as set the name, get the name, set the address, get the address. This address is coming from here. Name is this one. You can see where it is reflecting. And age also, this will be small a. And that will be passed to So get and set method. So with the public get and set method, where what you call properties, you can get and set the value because it is public. Okay. Next thing is that I'll create a private function. Hmm. Okay, let me create this function as private. Return type as double. I'll call this as net salary function, which will calculate the net salary. And it will return, I'll just right now return null because otherwise it will give me a problem. Or return a double value, let's say 10.21, just for the heck of. So let me think of first. I'm returning a double value, right? So what I need to do is, should I return a double value? Anyways, I'll get double value, right? Let me write now, first of all, void and return it. Okay, I will write down if a gross salary is defined out as private. So at least I can use it in the same class. Copy this. I can use this in the same. If gross salary is greater than equal to what is the state with a 3 lakh 1, and gross salary is below 3 lakh 1 and it is less than equal to 5 lakhs. Then have I defined the net salary? I'll call this as net salary with a capital N. And I have to define the net salary out here also. Double net sal. So then net salary is equal to gross salary minus 10% of gross salary. That will be your net salary. So 10% means 0.1. percent of gross salary. And let it be what, so I can do console dot write line. Net salary is concatenate net sal. Else if to capture this whole thing, paste it as a 20% is 0.2, and that will be defined out here. Is greater than equal to 5 lakh 1, sorry, 5 lakh 1, and less than equal to 10 lakh. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so this is a private function. Cannot get out of this particular package. So what I can do is now here I'm basically making this data member secure. So I may not make this as secure. Make it public. Okay. This is the class that I'm creating. Public employer public class employer employee 1. And this is where I can use the main method. And this class can be called above this particular class. So what is the class name? Encapsulation, right? So I'll create it above. Now how do you call it? It is defined out here. You create another class, create an object of that class. Simple. So create an object of encapsulation class inside this main method. So what is the class name? Encapsulation. E is equal to new encapsulation. That is the first thing. And then you have to, if you look at, you have to set up the code. Name, age, and all. So this is setting up the code, name and age of the student. And then you can get it up. Once you want to get it up, just get it out like this. So I'll show you. Address. Okay, the gross salary has to be defined also, right? So set property for gross salary. I want to get set and get also. So you can use this. What is the gross salary definition? It is with gross salary. It is double. salary. Okay, now you can use it above. So first set the values. Set the value for name, age, address, and gross salary. So you have to set the value by this public property only. Remember that, because you can't use this. They are private. They can't get out of this class. You can set the value by using e dot. You will see the set will property value will come like this. Range sign. The first name. It will be in string format. So maintain that string, address, string, integer, age, double gross salary. So you define the value, let's say as Sam Mendes, and define the value of age. That will be, let's say, 13 integer format. E dot address. Let's say he's in New York. E dot gross salary. This is what you have to give in double format. So double format is, let's say salary is 320,000.0, 3,20,000. Okay. So I'll write console dot write line, and this is where you have to define. I hope you are able to hear me.
Yes, Kaushik, can you able to hear?
Okay. So you can define name. How do you get the name? E dot how do you get the name? Just by calling this s. So s dot name. This is how you get it. Console dot write line, console dot read key. So this is how you are defining the setting the code. Okay. And this is how you're getting the value of s. So you can write down something like this. What do you get? Let us see. This is employee information. I'll write down. T. Okay, and then I have to use this method, which is a public method right now. So you can just use it with the e dot net salary. So let's say it is working or not. So 3,20,000, 10% cut will be 32,000. So that should be around about 2 lakh, 2,88,000. So let's see if it is working or not. If it does not work, we have to see what is the problem. what is this? I think I did not make this as a startup project. $2,88,000. You're getting the net salary, but you're not giving employee information. Employee information you're not getting because of the fact that, where have you called it? So employee info can be something like this. E dot info plus E dot name concatenate two spaces E dot age concatenate two spaces E dot address concatenate name age address gross salary employee one info. It's the bucket. So names and vendors, age 30, New York, and 33,20,000 is the gross salary. You can see that. Okay. This is how you're getting it. So what have you done? You have encapsulated the data members, and you are manipulating it by the get and set property. This is how you set it. This is how you get it out. And you're getting the gross salary also. So whatever gross salary you're setting, let's say I make it to 6 lakhs, 60,000, 6 lakhs. Then 20% will be cut. 20% will be 12,000. The 12,000 minus this is 5,78,000, I believe. No, 5,88,000. So let's see what is the gross salary coming in, right? So I can write down here net salary is run this now. So I can test it is working fine. So I've got the gross salary is 6 lakhs and yeah, 1,20,000 it is. Sorry, 20% will be 1,20,000. So you're getting 4,80,000 as your net salary. Employee information you can see. Same employee, 30, New York. So the employee is not understanding what is the implementation of the data member, how it is. It is only able to set and get the value. How it is implemented, what is the access specifier is, nobody can know. This is how your encapsulation works. You use the get and set property, which is a public property, to manipulate the data member, which is a private data member out here. And here you have not used any inheritance. You can see that. Abstraction would require inheritance. This will not require. So this is employee one. In the same fashion, you may have employee two out here. So I can basically have another class out here. So I'll add a class to it. Employee two class. So it's a public class. And I need to have this pane method out there. I'll have to just change the values of it. Let's say Rohit, and he stays in Bangalore, and his age is, let's say, 40, and his salary is 9 lakhs. This will be employee 2 information. The only thing that I need to do is that I have to comment this main method, because you cannot have 2 entry points. You can go and run it. So 7,20,000 is the gross net salary. Rohit 40, Bangalore 9 lakhs is the gross salary. You can see that. So this is how encapsulation is done. Okay, where you do not require inheritance. And next is here we need to show you interface, right? So I'd like to create another project. I call this as session number 18, 19, sorry. Start a project. Interfaces has to be public, and you have to use the interface keyword. You cannot have a main method. Are global variables possible? Just try to add it out. Public non-static values, string type, name. Possible to add? Non-static global variables is not possible. Public static global variables, string type, let's say address. So you can see what is happening. I have to comment this. You will also have to comment this. So global variables are not there. So can I use something called as public static? Can I use the final keyword, or it's called as final, or yes, final is not the keyword to be used. Constant, CUNNST, constant static string, and let's say G salary. Can you use fine as constants? Constant means whose value cannot be changed. Can't use it. Is static the problem? Put this static up before this. Still it cannot be used. Public static constant. This can also not be used. Then public non-static constant. Constant is string type and salary. So no global variables can be used. You can see that. What about concrete methods? Concrete method means methods which are also called as normal methods, and which will have a body. They have body. Are they allowed? So public static void nm1, not allowed. Non-static methods, non-static concrete methods, public void nm2, they are also not allowed. So concrete methods, they have body, are not allowed. Global variables are not allowed. So I have to comment this. So what you can use? You can have abstract method. So can you have a public abstract method? Abstract keyword. Abstract methods cannot be static and cannot be static. So they have to be inherited by another normal class or can implemented by an interface. A class can implement an interface and that is where the body will be defined. So abstract keyword void return type and let's say abstract method 1 and this doesn't have a body, no body and abstract. Now what is the problem? Abstract keywords is the problem. Let's see that. So I'll move this. Should you use the abstract keyword? And let's see that. I'll call this as AM2. I'll remove the abstract keyword. Comment it first. Also not taken. Is not valid for the item C# 7.3. Please use language version preview or greater. So public is not allowed. And what is the problem with this interface? Oh, namespace doesn't have. So can I use public? Was public was the problem? I don't know that. Abstract was the problem, so I removed abstract and put public. So this was a problem, so I removed it. Now public is also a problem. Even after removing abstract, this is having a problem. Then should I have something like this? This is how you understand the language rule also. Void AM3. AM3. Now this has been taken. So can I use the no public users? Can I use abstract keyword then? Abstract void AM4. This has a problem. So by default, this is internal then. That means I can define something like internal. I may choose to have this particular term internal void AM6. Will have a problem. Internal keyword also has a problem. Internal. I will have to comment it. What is only allowed? Void. So do you have private abstract functions? You cannot have private abstract function because private cannot get out of this class. And if it is abstract, it has to be implemented in the class which is implementing this input interface. And also all these things has to be understood. AM7. This will also not be allowed. Private is not allowed. Does it allow protected? Protected void. Return type can be anything. I can have string also. But protected is allowed? No, because interface will not have parent-child relationship. A class implements an interface. It cannot inherit an interface. This will also not be allowed. AM8. Just to show you how to understand the rules also. And then you have something called as protected internal. String return type AM9. This will also not be allowed anyways. So what is only allowed? AM3. And you can have another return type as string AM10. So this is only allowed in your interface. And this interface has to be, this is the interface by default. This has to be inherited by a class. So you have, an interface should be always public. So you have a class public, and the interface should be named as program. I'll have to name this as something else. So let's call this as start with I mobile. That's an interface. To depict it's an interface. Better now. And let's say there's a public class Samsung which implements the iMobile interface. So immediately you'll see this is nothing but the class is implementing the iMobile interface. The moment you do this, it will ask you, please implement the AM3 and AM10 because they have not been implemented out here. The moment implementation is happening by a class for a particular interface, you have to do that. Show potential fixes. Implement the interface. Public string AM10, public void. So it turns to public and the return types are maintained. So one is public void AM3 body can be implemented out here, and the next one is public return type is string. So you maintain the string, and that is AM10. This is how the implementation is done in the class implementing the interface AM10. So this is how to return a value. So return a string value, let's say hi. So just at this point out to remove any discrepancies. So the moment you do the implementations or this is nothing but another type of overriding. You're overriding the abstract method present in the interface in the class where the class is implementing the interface. And you have it so you can have your own body. The moment you do the implementation of the methods, body implementation of the methods in the class implementing this interface, you see the red underline has gone. If I remove this, again the red underline will come. See, does not implement interface member iMobile.am10. So you have to remember, you have to body implement all the abstract methods in the class which is implementing the interface. Otherwise, you will get a red underline. And in this class, you may have a main method, and main method can call. Interfaces object cannot be created. You cannot instantiate an interface. So it's not that you need a main method then, because if you cannot instantiate the interface, you don't need the main method. Main method is why it is static. In order to create objects inside a static method, you need the main method, and it is also an entry point. So here you can create the main method as you wish to. Public static void main. That is where you have to implement the main method in the class. And that's how you can call these methods right now. You can call, let's say, console dot write line, and you have, let's say, I'll just call up calling AM3 method just to show you what is the replication. And the same thing can happen out here. calling AM10 method. I will return. We have to use the return statement. Hi. Otherwise, it will give you a syntax error. Done. You can create an object of this class. This object can be created of this class. Samsung NS is equal to new Samsung. And with the s dot em10 and s dot em3. Now these are the overridden abstract methods whose body is defined in the class implementing the interface. This class can also have its own method and its own data members, that is its own global variable. That you know how to define it. And if you debug it right now, you will get the results of the main method. Calling AM10 method, calling AM3 method. Okay. And you can have a couple of interfaces also. For example, this is one interface. Okay, I can have one more interface like this here. So iMobile 2 interface, which can inherit iMobile. This is inheriting iMobile. You can see I have told you that interfaces supports all types of inheritance: single level, multi-level, hierarchical, that is allowed in class. Interface allows these three plus also multiple and hybrid. So interface will allow multiple and hybrid, which is not allowed in class concept. So this will also have its own methods, defined abstract methods. Plus it can also use the methods which are defined out here as it wishes to. Okay. So here you can define, since it is inheriting it, you can basically use it out here. So that is how interfaces work. Okay, and that's about interface. What is left around is your alerts in Selenium and how do you work with Windows components. Sometimes you encounter Windows component with Selenium. And Selenium cannot support Windows component, it only supports web components. So how do you encounter Windows component and what situation, and how do you handle it with Selenium script? You have to definitely use a third-party tool called AutoIT tool that I'll show you tomorrow. That will finish up the concept, and then the framework will be remaining, where the framework will be created by the NUnit framework. And that I'll show you. Okay, any questions?
No, Kaushik. Good.
Okay. Azhar? Okay. Thanks. I will send you the codes and video will be also sent.
Okay. Thank you, Kaushik. Thank you.
Thanks.